are at Oceanfront Campground in Brooklin, Maine, and we are staying on Site 8. I'll give you a tour of this site. We went to Maine on a family vacation to visit Acadia National Park, and we stayed at a couple different campgrounds. One of them we stayed at was Oceanfront Campground at Reach Knolls. It was a nice centralized location for visiting Acadia National Park and a few other locations around the area, which I'm going to talk about. And if you stay to the end, I'll show you some video and some photos that we took on our whale watching puffin tour. Oceanfront Campground is really well maintained. It's owned and operated by Leroy and her husband. It was her grandma's property back when she was just a kid, and she used to play on that property. It was farmland. And as she got older, she loved camping, so she wanted to turn that into a campground, something that she would really enjoy camping at, just like we do. When you pull in, the first thing you notice is a really well-maintained campground office with beautiful landscaping, and they have a freshwater fill tank as soon as you pull in, so extremely convenient. They don't have water hookups or sewage at any of the sites, but they do have 30 amp and they have potable water throughout the campground at various locations. They also have outhouses at various locations throughout the campground. One of the things I really liked about the campground is they gave you plenty of space. It didn't feel like a campground where they tried to fit in as many campsites as possible. All the sites are pretty good size. It's not really designed for huge rigs, but our travel trailer is about 40 foot when you consider the bike rack that's on the end. And the site that we had, which was Site 8, did have plenty of space. The front of that campsite, however, does have a really steep grade, so you just have to be careful. If you're in a fifth wheel, probably less of an issue. But we didn't have any problem. It was actually perfectly situated to face the ocean. We really enjoyed that spot, and it's right across from the walkway that leads you down to the beach. I'll give you a little bit of a tour of the campground. I won't do a full tour because you need to have something to go there and visit the campground for, but all the sites are really wonderful. Again, potable water throughout the campground with little spigots and outhouses. All the outhouses are really well maintained. They have showers up front, which my girls, they always shower in our RV, but they showered up front, and the outside showers, I think they really enjoyed that. My mother-in-law, she really enjoyed the showers too, and she said that they even had extra shampoo and conditioner. If you do visit Oceanfront Campground, make sure you say hi to Lori for my wife Alyssa and I, and if you happen to have a bottle of wine laying around, she might appreciate that too. But tell her we said hello. She's really a queen of hospitality. She will go above and beyond just to make you feel comfortable. It does take a little effort to get down to the beach. There's a little bit of a walk. They've got a bench that sits on the upper part of their property that overlooks the sunset. They have the benches perfectly situated to watch the sunsets each evening, and we did get a couple shots of that. My in-laws really loved sitting and watching the sun go down. But as you walk down to the beach, there's a pathway that takes you down there and some steps that take you down. It's more like a wheelchair path that takes you down to the beach. Don't know that I'd recommend taking a wheelchair down there. It's quite a steep grade. Very rocky as well, but most of Maine is rocky. They're well known for their granite. But as you get down to the ocean, there's low tide and high tide twice a day. Of course, our girls love to play in the low tide to look for sea creatures. This is their crabbing bucket. We usually take this to the Gulf Shores.
Look at him.
Gulf Shores, Alabama area.
Say hi.
Little crab.
That's so cute.
He's cool. Oh, he's gonna pose for the camera.
Came on part of there.
And what else you got? Ooh, a starfish. Cool.
That is
Did you find that up on the shore from low tide, or did you find that, like, was it in the water or on a rock?
It was in the water under a rock.
Under a rock. Okay, cool.
Really? Yeah, Helena found it.
I got like 2 things in here.
I was trying to find. We also found a crab.
There is a swimming platform that's out there, a little easier to get to when low tide comes.
Yes.
We're up in the state of Maine, which is a long ways away from home in southern Alabama. And we've come up with a challenge. The water here is
it's like
65 degrees.
It's like minus 60 degrees.
Minus 60.
It's low 60s or something.
Yes. It's cold.
You can bring canoes and kayaks out there. Again, just remember that it's a little bit of a walk to get down there. And just be careful as you bring things down to the beach. The kayaks and canoes, it's really no problem getting them out there. Just know that there's a little bit of rocky bottom. My brother-in-law and I took his canoe out there on a paddling trip over to Brooklin Boatyard to visit them. It's about 2.5 miles there, 2.5 miles back. Brooklin Boatyard is well known for its world-class yachts that pride themselves on high-end craftsmanship using newer technology for engines and other components within inside the boat. On the outside, it has this nice craftsman, timeless look to it, but on the inside, it still has some newer elements and tech to it. I will probably do a separate video just on that trip because there were so many boats. Oceanfront Campground is also only about an hour to Acadia National Park. Just make sure you bring packed lunches or food for your kids because it is a long drive. And Acadia National Park, it's not the biggest national park. In fact, it's considered one of the smaller national parks, but it is one way. And once you're inside the park, it's not very easy to navigate out and go get food. So just make sure you plan accordingly for snacks and clothing as well. Great park though, lots to do. Another place we enjoyed visiting was Deer Isle, which is only about a 20-minute drive from Oceanfront, where they have a place called Discovery Wharf at the Marine Center for Coastal Fisheries. It's free to public. They have interactive exhibits with the touch tank. Kids can learn all about lobstering from Captain Leroy Weed, who has been a lifelong lobsterman since around the age of 7. We really enjoyed Leroy's stories. He was fun, interactive, and you can tell that he's been doing this for a long time and just loves lobstering. He still goes out today. In the touch tank, they have a few lobsters where they pick it up and kind of educate the kids on the claws and their male and female and their breeding and how to measure the lobster, when to throw them back, as well as a trapping cage. And then he talked about the different chambers within the lobster cage, which was also quite interesting. But if you're in the area, give that a look. It's really cool. Another reason why we stayed at Oceanfront Campground is because we went to Booth Bay Harbor, which is where we did the whale and puffin tour. That was put on by Captain Fish, which shout out to them. They did an incredible job giving us a tour of the ocean, and they found some hot spots where we saw some fin whale, a pair of them actually, that gave us a show for nearly a half an hour. And it got to the point where we had to move on. They were still there feeding on fish coming up, and they were blowing their water. But in order for the sake of time, because you go out many, many miles, and it's a 4-hour trip, round trip. And then they took us out to Egg Rock Island to see the puffin. But on the way out to Egg Rock, after we left the fin whale, we were surprised by a very energetic humpback whale who breached several times, far away and up close. And so close sometimes that I just missed it. I couldn't even get it on camera because it just came out of the water. Quite an incredible sight. The humpback whale gave us quite a few pectoral fin slaps. And as we were getting ready to leave to head on to Egg Rock Mountain to see the puffin, he gave us several tail slaps, or also known as lobtailing. That was quite impressive too. And he did that so much that by the time we were about ready to leave, it looked like he was getting close to being out of energy. Quite the experience. I hope you like this video. We haven't done any campground tours in quite a while. This was a little bit less of a tour around the campground, but just to give you enough of a sneak peek just to tell you a little bit more about the campground and some of the sites. If you're traveling to Maine and you're looking for something in between Acadia National Park and maybe a few other sites to see, this is a really cool place to check out. And Lori and her husband are just off the charts for hospitality. A really cool place. They had high attention to detail, and you can tell that they care a lot about their campground and their campers. So I hope you like this video. So stay tuned for some more videos from our trip to Maine. I'm probably going to do a video on our canoe trip over to Brooklin Boatyard. They just had a lot of cool boats, and I will probably do sort of an overall trip of our trip to Maine where we visited Acadia National Park and also Scudic Campground, which is on the opposite side of Acadia National Park. It's actually within the Acadia National Park, but it's a campground. One of the most beautiful campgrounds in terms of national park, state park campgrounds we've stayed at, really large sites. So stay tuned for those videos. They'll be coming out soon. I hope you like this video, and if you do, please give it a like and subscribe. I really appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. We really enjoy camping and want to share our camping adventures with you. Happy camping!